All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Jets Flight Path. And it was a very eventful week, Paul. This past week, the Jets had their introductory press conference with Robert Saleh, and just what a 2 year difference it makes. I mean, between Robert Saleh and Adam Gase, like it's like night and day with the type of energy that Saleh brought, the professionalism, and what he was conveying to the media and everything. And one of the big keys, like out of that, was right away. We got Christopher Johnson at the time, still like running things. Now Woody Johnson's back after being an ambassador in the UK, so he resumes his role as the CEO of the Jets. But Chris Johnson saying the structure's changing to the coach going directly to the GM and the GM going to the owner. Common sense. I think that's like, it's finally with the Johnson ownership for the past 20 years, that's something that fans have been clamoring for. But the big thing with the press conference, I feel, is just like Salah's vision. It's infectious. I mean, you already see I don't know if you saw like everyone talking about all gas, no brake. I think Saleh seems to be the guy.
Yeah, and it's been a long time coming for Jets fans. I think the last real guy that he's had a vision and he's been able to motivate a team and have a team build around him. We're not going to mention Rex Ryan just because he had those 2 years and after that it just kind of was wonky. But I would say Herm Edwards.
Mm,
Herm has always been as a motivational speaker in that locker room, even on when he was doing broadcasts for doing anchors on ESPN for College Game Day, or he's doing this or he's doing that. He always had that ability to be the center of attention in the room just by the way he
right.
spoke, and I think Salah is going to be the same way. And yeah, a lot of people will say, well, you can't really it's a typical cookie cutter, press conference that when a head coach gets hired, he's of course he's going to say all these things because he wants to,
Yeah.
make the fans feel good. But no, I think with Solid it's different. And like you said, you're already seeing guys like Becton and Williams and guys around the league just excited to see him coach, and that's a good sign because
He reached out to
hopefully
every single player on the Jets roster to at least, say, hello.
introduce himself exactly.
Right, right.
And
I doubt Gase did that.
I like Gase didn't do a lot of things, but it's good, and hopefully that we talked about changing the culture last week, and Joe Douglas has started to implement that, and bringing Saleh in. I think that's a real big piece to changing the culture in New York, and you're going to see a lot of guys I think are going to want to come to New York to play for him. I mean, you already see that with Allen Robinson and maybe Richard Sherman, but we'll delve into that when we get to it later on in the episode, the free agent topic. But
Yep.
uh, yeah, no, I really like the press conference.
Yeah. Salah, like I said, like you said, he has an established vision, and it's infectious. You could see with the players that haven't even gotten into, well, just gotten into the building doing the press conference, but like having the players buy in to what he's saying and to be like is saying to the players, we have to invest into the players like they're our kids. We have to like they have to believe in us so they can get better and play to the best of their abilities. As coaches, they have to coach them up. So I like what Sal was saying. The one thing, another big key takeaway uh, from the press conference is he was non-committal on Sam Darnold. Now, he's not going to flat out say, well, yep, Sam's our quarterback, or nope, he's out of here, he's gone. It doesn't work like that, and it doesn't make sense to like, tip your hand, so to speak, to do so. So you see, some people are interpreting his comments as well. Sam is definitely sticking it. Right? It's like no, Salah commented on like, well, there's a reason why Darnold was number 3 overall pick and how good he was in college, but he never committed to him as a starter. He's going to evaluate him as with every player. We heard about this last week with Joe Douglas saying there's no decision yet on Darnold and his future with the Jets. Um, but it sounds to me like basically when the Arizona Cardinals hired Cliff Kingsbury, yeah, we really like Josh Rosen. And I'm sure he did, but when you have a very early pick and there's a potential better quarterback prospect there with a rookie contract, also considering the Watson news, I mean, to me, it sounds like less and less likely that Donald will be a Jet this season.
Yeah, I think the writing's on the wall for Darnold, and you never want to tip your hand like you said, because that can dramatically devalue the
Mm-hmm.
second overall pick. So again, and he said it in the press conference himself. He hasn't had time to actually sit down and evaluate the roster. And yeah, he has mentioned some guys that he's excited to work with, like Quentin Williams, but those are guys that are expected to be a corner piece
Right.
to the franchise. So certain players like that, of course, he's going to say, yeah, I can't wait to work with him. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it was smart to not commit to Darnold, and any coach in that situation would do the same thing. But
People expect differently for whatever reason.
right,
Like
right,
the
and
what
if
the one beat reporter. I'm sorry, Paul, but
no,
it's
that's fine.
amazing how terrible the Jets beat is over the years. Even though there's no longer Manish Mehta creeping around,
Fucking bum.
um, one Jets drive, there's still other guys there with uh, ulterior motives or just clueless in their questioning. Like you had one believe, hey Joe Douglas, can you speak on Deshaun Watson? It's like why would you entrap the team you work for, the team you cover like that? It like first off, he can't. He knows this. I mean, Joe Douglas is a football guy. Like he knows he can't speak on Watson, but like why even bother wasting the time, wasting everyone's time asking a question when it could lead to tampering? If he answers it any other way of like, well, we only talk about our own players. Like it's just a waste of time. And then you had I forget who said it. One of the Jets beat reporters mentioned because the New York Mets just fired their GM. They recently hired Jeffrey Porter, I believe his name, or is Jed Porter, whatever,
Right,
um,
right.
for over the sexting scandal. It's like, do you think would that be a similar situation with the Jets organization? And it's like this is an introductory press conference for a new head coach, and that's the type of question you ask. That's just it's so annoying that regardless, even if the Jets win, and this was how it was when the Jets were like a winning team or had some good seasons, the Jets beat report is still the worst. I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest. They're just
No,
terrible.
no, you're right. I mean, well, first off, you have to look at it. It's the New York media, and they don't say the New York media is the toughest for no reason. I mean, first off, you have to deal with the expectation of fans. That's one. If you don't win, you get the fuck out, which is essentially how it is. And it's not just with football; it's the same with baseball and hockey and basketball too.
Right.
But like you said, each New York team has its garbage writers. The Giants aren't much better. The New York Rangers, delving off for a little bit, have Larry Brooks, and Larry Brooks is the only guy who writes for the Rangers in the entire city of New York, and all he does is just, yeah. What was he thinking? And then he'll go to a press conference. Yeah, yeah. Lundqvist is. This is. I'm going back now. Lundqvist. He gave up 2 goals in the first period. Any thoughts about benching him? Like the guy won the Vesna the year before. He's the only goalie that's healthy on the roster. How are you going to bench him? But no, it's
It
just
seems
stupid.
very out. Like I feel sports like beat reporters are just antiquated. Like they
Yeah,
serve no
it's
purpose when you have the team on social media, the players, some coaches as well. Robert Saleh, I believe, does have the Twitter account. Um, where fans can go directly. They were basically back when before social media, they were like the liaison. They couldn't like now they serve no purpose other than to write, contrarian articles and just like,
right.
write bad
Basically,
press.
basically the whole point of them is to get those questions out because and Manish did this for fucking ever. He would ask a fucking stupid question or a trapment question, and then its headline would be oh, Adam Gase doesn't think Darnold's the quarterback of the future. I mean, and
Yeah,
then meanwhile, the question would be like, any thoughts about Darnold going into next season? And Gase will go, I'm not thinking about next season. I just want to enjoy the off season. Like it's all for clicks, and that's how they get their money. And it's just fuck the New York
the
Jets
reason
players.
why, yeah. But I feel like in general, like is sport, and this kind of heard from the Jets for a quick second, but in general, sports media, like the whole reason First Take took off because it's like you're hearing two loudmouths back when it's Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless like just go at it and give their flaming hot takes. And the reason they were getting ratings is because I'm sorry to say, sports fans are stupid and they
Hmm.
like being upset at other people having differing opinions. Like, who cares that talking head on TV thinks this of the Jets or this of the Jets? Like, who cares? Or of anything sports related. Like, I personally feel that's why, like, I've just detoxed from sports in general. Like, I'll watch, the Jets, unfortunately, for the past 2 years, but every Sunday and stuff like that and watch my favorite sports teams, but just tuning into like these sports shows to hear these analysts like give it like who cares what they have to say.
Yeah. But like you said, it draws ratings and it draws money, so it's never going to stop.
Yep, that's
But
true. But getting back on track
yeah,
with the Robert Saleh press conference for the Jets, another key takeaway is announcing the hires. And the Jets, we knew last week that Mike LaFleur would become the offensive coordinator. We also learned over the last weekend that former Cowboys receiver Miles Austin, New Jersey native, will become the new receivers coach, replacing Hines Ward. Um, you have a lot of names that John Benton is the new offensive line coach. He's from Denver. But on the defensive side of the ball, one that stood out is the defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich, former 49ers linebacker back in the days of Aldon Smith and Patrick Willis before Jim Harbaugh got there and made them good when they were just a mediocre franchise. Uh, he was a decent linebacker. I don't know much about him and his coaching and how well he may be as a defensive coordinator, but he will be making the plays. Robert Saleh is saying that making the plays, calling the plays. Robert Saleh wants to be the CEO coach, which I think is a very interesting aspect.
well, just a little bit of information on Jeff. So, as you said, he played for the 49ers during their mediocre years from 2000 to 2009. He got his head coaching, or I shouldn't say head coaching, his start as a coach with the Seattle Seahawks in 2010. So right
Oh,
after he retired, he was assistant special teams, and then he moved from Seattle to UCLA as a linebackers coach and special teams coach. Came back to the NFL in 2015 with the Falcons as a linebacker coach from 2015 to 2019. Right when Dan Quinn was fired in 2020, he was the assistant head coach, linebackers coach, and defensive coordinator.
hmm.
So he's had his fair share of collegiate and NFL experience. Last season as the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator, but he's been around the game as a linebackers coach and a special teams coach. I think it's an interesting hire. We know the Falcons defense has been very, 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 very suspect over the last few years. However, I don't necessarily hate this hire just because our head coach, Robert Saleh, came over from the 49ers as a defensive coordinator. So really, he wants to be a CEO coach, but I think,
He's gonna
Saleh
have
will over.
say,
Right, he's going to have say in what's called and when it's called. So
and
I don't necessarily hate this, but it's
yeah. Well,
yeah,
another interesting aspect is the Jets. They ran a 3-4 for wow. I think since Rex got came here, so since at least '09, the Jets have been a
yeah.
3-4 defense, and nowadays, like offensive schemes, it's more of a mix, but going to a 4-3 base or reverting back to that, uh, I think that's going to definitely help out guys like Quentin Williams, like the guys on the defensive line, Franklin Myers, Fudukasi. Like it'll help get more guys on the field, rotate them in and out. Um, Interesting, to see like will CJ Mosley will he like where he'll line up and the linebackers and it's definitely an interesting outlook for the Jets as they're currently set up with the pieces they have.
Yeah, no, and I the one thing I hated about the Jets, they would take guys who were fit for a 4-3, and they would try to pigeonhole him
Quentin Coples,
into this. Yeah, Quentin Coples. And
prime
listen,
example.
he was bad, but how much of that was just because he didn't fit the scheme?
Hmm.
You pigeonhole guys in like this, and you try not to, you play them out of their natural position. Yeah, of course, there's going to be performance issues, but I like that they finally are switching over to a 4-3, and like you said, it gives guys like Quentin Williams a chance to make more of an impact on the line. Franklin Myers, maybe if they get not Watson but J.J. Watt, you put him at the end and they'll go to work. But I think it's good, uh, good enough time as ever to switch to a new scheme.
Yeah, yeah, fresh start. A whole look, a whole makeover for the Jets as a whole with Robert Saleh as head coach. Things are looking promising for him. Park going back to the Darnold thing. We don't know. No one knows. There's a lot of rumors and everything. I feel more confident at this point that Darnold will not be a Jet compared to Watson will be a Jet. However, since our last episode, the Deshaun Watson news to New York, and even Allen Robinson too, and we will get to that. Allen Robinson just liking every tweet that's related to the Jets and everything. It's
Yeah.
wild. Richard
Yep.
Sherman speaking on the Jets multiple times. I can guarantee Richard Sherman will be a Jet, but we'll get to that. With Watson, you have Adam Schefter, Albert Breer, Daniel Jeremiah, multiple NFL insiders viewing the Jets as the most likely destination uh, if the Texans were to trade Deshaun Watson. Now, at this point in time, Houston is the last team to not hire a head coach. I think they are waiting on Eric Bieniemy or possibly Brian Daboll, but I think their only shot at keeping Watson happy maybe is Bieniemy. But however, Watson's frustrations go beyond anything with like a head coach or management. It's more to do with ownership. Um, to me, like Watson, I feel it's a precarious position because you have I don't know if you see the video where his agent was like talking to some like fan recording everything saying that's like the eagle green. The agent's response is like we want him in that jet green. Like I think Watson wants to be a Jet. People have put out there that possibly using the Jets as like trade bait for another team. Really, there's only two teams who have the draft capital who have to make this type of trade would be the Jets and the Dolphins, possibly the Patriots because that Nick Cicero is a GM for Houston, came from New England, so you have the connection. But in reality, if Houston wants a top pick so they can take their next guy, they're either going to want the Jets or the Dolphins to trade with them because they both have top three picks.
Right.
Um, with this
Well, that
Watson
the
thing,
Dolphins pick is their own pick,
yeah,
so they would essentially be trading back for their own pick.
which would be hilarious, but that would be a crazy swindle. But I think Watson wants to be a Jet because he wanted Robert Saleh. The Texans didn't even interview Robert Saleh compared to every other team. Even the Lions, who never get anything right, they may now with Dan Campbell. We'll get to that later, but they interviewed Robert Saleh, and it's just. You have Watson out in New Jersey. He's over in Edgewater, New Jersey. He's friends with what's his name, James Harden, and I believe KD as well. I'm not sure. So they may be in his ear like, yo, you need to get to New York. this and that. Um, I think I do think Watson wants to be a Jet. Um, Apparently, the Jets have reached out to the Texans. The Texans right now, and this always happens. We're not trading the guy who everyone thinks is going to be traded or wants to be traded and everything. But behind closed doors, they're definitely listening. It's not. It's kind of similar to like the Jamal Adams situation where I can't believe you picked up the phone and listened to calls on me. I'm Jamal. I'm the greatest. And it's like, of course, why would you wouldn't be doing your job as a general manager if you weren't listening to offers on any and all players?
Of
Um,
course.
but apparently, it did come out that Houston wants three firsts. Well, the Jets definitely have that. So it depends. Does Joe Douglas want to part ways and speed up this rebuild? Because I feel looking at the Jets right now, Paul, where would you think they are in terms of sustained success? Like how far away at currently speaking?
That's a good question. There's definitely some bright spots on this team, and I know that's hard to say after looking at this abysmal year that we've had last year. But you look at the defense. They weren't as bad as everyone, put them out to be. They have their pieces. They had, Joe Douglas brought in guys like Franklin Myers, who was able to make an impact, and Frankie Louvu would make plays, and Brian Poole as a slot corner did very well. Marcus May, so you definitely have pieces there. So realistically, I would say by year 3 of that trade, if the Jets were to make that trade, that first round pick would essentially maybe be an upper teens, lower 20s pick. So at the end of the day, it wouldn't be as bad.
Wait, you think it would take 3 seasons if the Jets were to trade for Watson?
No, 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 no. So okay, so what I'm saying is,
Like right now,
I'm
like
look.
going into the draft, they don't trade for Watson. As state Robert Saleh's the head coach, of course. Where like how long before the Jets are back to where they were
Oh,
in
I see.
09, 2010?
I interpreted it as if they have Watson in 3 years, how would that how would they look? Okay, yeah. If they don't go with Watson, and let's say they go with Darnold, excuse me, or they go with the rookie quarterback, I would say maybe 2 years, maybe three. I'm gonna stick.
Hmm,
I'm gonna stick around there. If they have Watson, I would say maybe 2 years.
really? If they have
Yeah.
Watson, I say this year. I
I mean,
think it's
don't forget.
because look at the look. Well, I mean, look where Robert Saleh came from. Look what the Niners when
Right.
before Kyle Shanahan, it was it Chip Kelly or was it Jim Tom Sula? I forget. After no, it was Harbaugh, Tom Sula, then Chip Kelly's terribleness, and then Kyle Shanahan came in to clean things up.
Right.
So it literally took like a year for them to be at a Super Bowl contending level. But in the first year, they were competing. And I think if you trade, and they didn't even have the quarterback the first year under Kyle Shanahan. I forget who was the QB. I think
I think it was
who
Blake Bortles, or not Blake Bortles. It was
who
Blaine Gabbert.
Blake. Oh my goodness.
Was it?
And but they were still competing with guys like Blaine Gabbert.
Right.
If the
But
Jets trade for Watson, and if they sign a guy like an Allen Robinson or Chris Godwin or something, they're competing right away. Not Super
mm,
Bowl contending, but
mm,
enough to be a wild card is not out of the question.
mm, I don't know, dude.
Rebuilds
Yeah, they
don't
got
take
they,
that long anymore,
no,
and nor should they.
I get it. No, I completely get it. But you know, there's still a big question mark at running back. You know,
Ah,
Ty Johnson. No, 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 dude. Ty Johnson, decent running back. He's not number one. Michael Perrine, decent running back, not a number one.
Paul, we're signing
Uh,
Frank quarterback.
oh well, that's true. Future. They have question marks at tight end. You know, is Chris Herndon did he just have a down year because of the offense was that bad, or was he a 1 year wonder in his rookie year? They still have Ryan Griffin that they signed that extension to, and in this league, you need a solid, not only a pass blocker, but a solid pass catcher. Which is, you look at all these teams, Patriots with Gronkowski back in their day, the uh,
But if they
the
get one,
Chiefs with Travis Kelsey. gone.
If they get like I said, like if they make the trade for Watson, who is borderline or maybe top five, depending on who you ask, quarterback in the league, they already shored up his blind spot and Mekhi Becton at
Right,
left
with
tackle.
Becton, right,
Uh, the Jets are expected to go after maybe a guy like Joe Thuney in free agency, like to improve
right,
the O line further this offseason, or also in the draft possibly. Uh, they'll have the money even after Watson, because Watson, I believe, is getting paid this upcoming season 21 million.
right.
That's dropping the
That's
bucket
peanuts. Right,
for
right.
the cap this
For a
year, and then it
quarterback, for a quarterback.
yeah, and then it goes up to 35 million next year. You can worry about that additional 15 million next offseason. The Jets would still have plenty of cap to go and get at least one of the top receivers available in free agency, whether it is Robinson or Godwin or Golladay or Smith Schuster, whoever. Pair that with Mims and Crowder, and I don't know, you go get a running back, maybe another stopgap like Mark Ingram. I'm just spitballing
Right,
here.
I know, you're speculating.
It's I think the Jets are able to compete, not Super Bowl content. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like
What's your definition of compete? 8-8, 9-7?
I think like the Browns this year. I don't think that's I
You
mean,
think
look what
ten
Kevin
and six is
Stefanski.
possible?
Absolutely. If you get Watson and
Especially with our division the way it is now with Miami and Buffalo. I
well, in Miami is I like Brian Flores, but the Dolphins they have vision. They're kind of like the Jets, except a little bit further along because they already have the established coaching hire and some guys, and maybe they have Tua. Depends if they want to trade Tua to
right.
Houston, and that's a type of deal. But they're like a year ahead in the process. The Bills are running things right now. The Patriots are kind of on the in the back burner a bit, but I think especially with that's the whole big deal is the additional wild card. Why couldn't the Jets, and the AFC is the weaker conference still compared to the NFC? I forget when it flipped really. Maybe like around when the Packers won the Super Bowl. Like it's because it used to be the AFC was a dominant conference. Like every year, the Steelers, the Colts, the Pats, the Ravens, the Chargers back then too,
Yeah.
and the NFC is just you know been running things for the past like decade. But the AFC, it's just really the Chiefs, the Bills, the Steelers feel done. To me, I think they're finished. Um, the
The Patriots?
Ravens, but the Patriots always have Belichick that competing. Like I feel like that.
Yeah.
Like the Pats were able to compete this year. It didn't end up like expected because their quarterback play was horrendous. But I think the biggest comparison would be the Browns this year. Kevin Stefanski, first year head coach, kind of fixed Baker Mayfield. So even if the Jets do keep Darnold, highly unlikely,
But
I think it's not out of the realm of possibilities for the Jets to be a playoff contender.
But see, the biggest and the thing that you're not mentioning with the Browns is they already had a large portion of this team in place before he came over. So they already
Mm-hmm.
had Jarvis Landry and they already had Chubbs and Hunt and OBJ and Baker was there. Now, granted, I'll give you credit. Baker Mayfield looked a lot better than he this year than he did last year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of this team's core was already in place. So was it the play calling that pushed them over the top? Absolutely, but they were already established. They just needed a better leader. The Jets, on the offensive line, they have Becton.
It's comparable, especially
I
again
mean,
if they
who?
add to it this offseason, it would be like the Browns because the Browns O line wasn't that good before, and then they also drafted a rookie Wirfs uh, last draft.
Hmm, I don't know, dude.
I agree
I
with the
still
established
think
thing in terms of like on the offensive side of the ball. Like you're right, the Browns did have the running backs and the receivers already there,
right.
but I mean, no one's going to argue Watson is 100 times the quarterback Baker ever is or ever
Oh,
will
I,
be.
and, I'm, and listen, I'm not arguing that. I'm just see, and this is going back a few episodes. My whole thing behind it is do the Jets really want to give up that much draft capital over the next 3 years?
But
for
it's not
a
their draft
25.
capital if you think about it.
Yeah,
It's essentially you would trade Jamal Adams and a first round pick 3 years from now for Watts for a top tier quarterback.
yeah. That's true. I
You still
always
can, you'd
had
still have first round picks this year. They have multiple round picks
right,
later in the mid round
right.
middle rounds. So
But
it's
my
always like I feel like that argument like it can't really work because it's essentially like
yeah,
well the Jets they didn't lose every single draft, they still have the rest of their draft picks, like you would just be trading your top ones to get one of the better quarterback. Like this is a scenario that doesn't really happen all that often.
right,
To me, like I think would be worth it. It just depends on whether Houston wants to be realistic or not, whether Joe Douglas can work his magic like he did with Adams and maybe get him for a little bit cheaper, maybe only two first round picks. Um, I to me, it's a no brainer. Like I would rank it like Watson, one of the rookie quarterbacks, and then Darnold, and then whatever.
right. No, I mean, listen, if we get Deshaun Watson and Joe Douglas is able to work his magic, all power to it. I just, we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't be against it. But at the same time, I just think there's a better way to go about it. Just building through the draft and being able to mold those guys. But hey, like I said, Watson's a hell of a quarterback, and if the Jets get him, great because they haven't had a quarterback in since Joe Namath,
He would
Chad
automatically,
Pennington, actually.
in terms of
Greatness.
and yeah, in terms of great, he would be the Jets' best quarterback in history besides Favre. It's sad, but like I'd rather get the guarantee because this is the thing too. Who would have thought? Nobody thought that Vernon Golson would have been the bust that he was. He was like one of the sure things going to that '08 draft for the Jets. The Jets
Right.
got one of the premier pass rushers, and he did nothing.
He did
So
nothing
draft picks, especially first round picks, more often than not bust than they do boom.
in the later
So
rounds.
yeah,
Mm,
I'd rather get the guaranteed guy on a
yeah.
reasonable contract for a quarterback. He's locked up. He would be
Yeah.
happy. He's under the coach he wanted to be. You bring in a top tier receiver, maybe two. You beef up the O line even further. Get a running back in the draft. Who cares? Go after it and try to compete. It's been 10 years. It's the longest drought in this miserable franchise's history. It's the longest drought of playoffs. The Jets have not been in the playoffs since 2010. That that has never happened before in the 90s, 80s, 70s, whatever. The Jets would make a
10
playoff
years.
appearance
Yeah.
here and there. It has been a bad decade, and it needs to end as soon as possible. And, I wouldn't be like you. I would not be upset. Jets take a rookie quarterback, sure, whatever. To me, then that would be, I think, like what you were saying, like 3 years for contendingship. I think that would be the case. But if the Jets were to take Watson, playoff contending this year, Super Bowl contending next year.
Well, I
That's
mean,
it's
listen,
lofty, but
you make a great argument, and I think the Watson argument's great. I'm of the opinion that building through the draft, that's just my
you've been
philosophy.
playing too
But
much of NFL
uh,
head coach
yeah,
2009, Paul.
I know, dude. Uh, dude, that game is so much fun. It's so much better than the horse shit that Madden gives us year in and year out. But I actually I want to stick on the topic of Houston. I know that you want to cover free agents, but let's actually talk about the head coaching jobs that are still available and the hirings, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, definitely.
So, sticking on with Houston a little bit, it was reported that Adam Schefter, saying that Houston, with Deshaun Watson has played his last snap in Houston, and if the indications of who the Houston Texans have interviewed uh, is any indicator of who they're going to be hiring as their head coach, Watson is going to be a Jet or a Dolphin without a shadow of a doubt.
Well, they
So,
just interviewed Uncle Josh.
well, yes, and that's exactly what I was getting to. So the Houston Texans has interviewed Jim Caldwell, better known for his head coaching roles in Detroit and Indianapolis for their position, and recently retired former Jet and future Jet Ring of Honor recipient Josh McCown for their head coaching job. Now, if you want to talk about dysfunction, like the media likes to talk about how the Jets have dysfunction,
Yeah.
look no further than Houston.
There,
I I like Josh McCown. I think as a quarterback, he's had a very underrated career as a fringe starter slash backup. He's been put
yeah.
into shit positions his entire career. He's made the best of it, and he's been a great mentor along the way. But he has absolutely no coaching experience anywhere, collegiately or in the pros. Now, he may coach his son's high school football team or whatever, but to go from high school to the NFL, I'm not buying it.
It it would be a
I'm not buying
mistake.
it. It's just funny just saying that Josh McCown
As a head coach.
interviewed for the Texans head coaching job, and I don't necessarily, you know, I don't hate Josh McCown because and a lot of people on Twitter are just like, listen, he was given an interview. If he gets the job, great, but you got guys out there like Bieniemy, you still got Dabble, who are in the playoffs, and as we're talking through the other candidates, I'll bring up my point as to how the coaching system is all fucked up in this league. Um, but even if you can't get those guys, go after fucking Brian Schottenheimer. At least he's coached in the
Oof.
NFL, and he has an idea of how a team is assembled and how to delegate. Josh McCown,
Well, they flirt
the,
with
the
that idea of Brian
right.
Schottenheimer.
The
Um,
Houston Texans are a poverty franchise, and no one will change my mind about it. I'm
they've
sorry, continue.
they've taken the cake. They've taken the mantle from the Jets, Browns, and Lions as being the clown show team of the league. I guess you could throw the Redskins in there as well, and the Dolphins from years ago. It's just
And sorry to cut you off, but it just seems like you look at all these teams now, they just have a level of competency, and they just said, we're just gonna fuck Houston shit up," and just gave them all that bad voodoo or voodoo, whatever the fuck it is. I'm sorry, continue.
well, that's a butch, but
Yeah, I know.
but
Mojo, I don't know.
yeah, it's amazing how Houston's just mismanaged the entire situation and let Bill O'Brien overstay his welcome down there and let him run things. It just didn't make sense from the beginning. Once they announced Bill O'Brien was going to be the not only head coach, but he's going to be the GM as well. It's like this is just going to end in disaster. It's gonna Watson's going to want out, and then when Watson signed his big deal, it was like, well, I guess he doesn't mind. But then it got worse and worse and worse from there since he signed. Um, yeah, it's the Texans. I think they are waiting at. People keep bringing up with the other coaching hires, and we'll get right into that. You know, the Chargers hiring Brandon Staley. I think that was the first hire after the Jets, which kind of surprised everyone. I didn't think he'd be hired this year. I thought like next year he'd get a coaching job, but the former Rams defensive coordinator, who's done really well over there. Um, I think a lot of people thought LA would go into the Chargers, that is, would go into a more um, offensive minded head coaching route. So it'll be interesting because they have Justin Herbert, one of the more promising quarterbacks in the league, and the Lions ended up hiring Dan Campbell as head coach. He was a former Dolphins interim head coach at one point. He's what the assistant head coach for the Saints for the past few years. He had a very a very good press conference in his own right, kind of Rex Ryan esque, I would
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Which I think Detroit needs that energy. His whole press conference was like just about Detroit. We're going to punch you in the mouth, this, that, and the other thing, which is a lot different from Matt Patricia, who's now back in New England. What a shock. Um,
Nah, that wasn't really shocking because you look at
well, I was being sarcastic.
oh, well, mark it
I
off.
think we talked about it. Was it last week? We talked about Arthur Smith, the new Falcons head coach, who the
Falcons
Jets,
coach, yeah.
yeah, the Jets
No.
interviewed twice. Um, and Frank Bush, the Jets' former DB coach, and took over as defensive coordinator once the Jets let go of Greg Williams. He's now down in Atlanta as the linebacking coach. But I think the biggest shock thus far is the Eagles hiring Nick Sirianni, the Colts' former offensive coordinator.
Right.
Um, I guess because of the Frank Reich connection, which probably makes the most sense, they're trying to appease Carson Wentz, but that just means they pissed away a pick on
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. I don't know. The thing about it is like these teams, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Washington, they're all so lucky to play in the worst division with each other basically. This division has been so god awful for the past
Close to
15
15
years.
years.
Yeah, but besides like 1 or 2 years, like the 1 year with Mike Vick and the Eagles, and I want to say I believe RG3's rookie year with Washington,
With the
and then the
Redskins,
1 year
yeah.
with Dallas as well when they were rolling on. They were like 12-4 or something like that. They were doing really
Yeah.
well. Um, it's just this division is just so putrid. I don't know about this coaching hire. I have no idea what the Colts offense looks all right. Can he fix Carson Wentz? I don't think so. I think Wentz is not that good anymore.
No.
But
I'm going to argue he was never that good to begin with, but continue.
ooh, that's a take. It's it's interesting. How a lot of people are bringing up like how is Bieniemy not hired yet? Has I think the same goes with Brian Dabble, though I think Dabble's just going to stay in Buffalo because he has that connection. Buffalo, I think he's comfortable as the OC there. He may have just used other coaching interviews to get like a pay raise, which I can no doubt see. But with the Texans being the only uh, job opening left for a head coaching position, it makes all the sense in the world that they're waiting this out to get Bieniemy after the playoffs.
Well,
Um, no, go
I
ahead.
I was gonna. That brings me to my point about how this whole coaching system hiring process is kind of fucked up. Bieniemy's been poised for a head coaching job for the past
Two,
what
3 years.
2 3 years, and yeah, the Chiefs are going on deep runs, and as I said last week, the head coaching positions in the NFL they go quick because teams want to get their guy, they want to get him in, and they want to get back to business as usual. So it leaves guys like Bieniemy and it'll leave guys like Dabble out to I guess I gotta wait. If the NFL were to implement like a kind of like college does, where it's like they have a national signing day or like a free agency, where okay, now you're permitted to talk to coaches and even out that playing field. I think it would be better because there's no reason why Bieniemy
Yeah, or even
would not get
with
a job.
Baltimore,
Yeah,
Don Wink Martindale, the
yeah,
defensive
yeah.
coordinator, everyone thought he would get more interviews. I think he only got
Yeah,
maybe one, if that.
I think one
Um,
or two.
yeah, like it kind of hurts. It helps because they're part of a winning team and they're successful. But when you have these
Right,
guys there, Greg Roman also from Baltimore, like when they go deep into playoffs like this, it's like you can't hire them because they're still a part of the team.
they're still a part of the
So
team, right?
I think the best solution you're saying like a whole day. I think just postpone. If you have a coaching vacancy, you can interview as much as you want. But until after the Super Bowl, immediately after the Super Bowl, is when you are allowed to start hiring and to
Right.
compensate for that lost time because it is like uh what do they call it, Black Monday. That's usually week 17, so that's like uh early January to the Super Bowl is beginning of February. It's on February 7th
It's
this
almost
year.
6 weeks. Huh.
Yeah, so that lost time you compensate it by every new coaching hire, every team that has a new head coach, you allow them all to be present for like uh, their staff or the coaches to be a part of the what is it, the Senior Bowl, which takes place after the Super Bowl, before a scouting combine, and have them more you know engage with draft picks and everything like that. and do everything to help out these teams with new head coaches for that lost time. But it would level the playing field for these worthy candidates like Bieniemy, like you mentioned, and Brian Dabble. Um, but speaking of which, in terms of scouting combine, just to roll right into that, this year the combine is going to be virtual. Now, I don't know. I don't know why they would go that route. You could just move if you're afraid of like okay indoors being Indianapolis. You've moved the Pro Bowl from Miami to like New Orleans to Hawaii. Like it's been moved. The NFL has the capability to move the scouting combine to somewhere like I don't know Florida. Move it to Miami Gardens or whatever. What is it called? Hard Rock Stadium now. Do that. Have the combine because now they're just saying, all right, every school's pro day. There you go. That's it. And
Yeah, it's going to be tough to evaluate talent.
I think it's going to be a mess because you're going to have own teams set up all these drills. Essentially, the combine was just a pro day for everyone invited to come along. I understand the COVID situation and stuff like that, but it's just going to make things worse because you have more people traveling to all these different schools. You're going to have them going to Ohio State, to
Oh, of
Alabama, to
course.
USC, blah, 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 blah,
Uh,
and just do the same thing over and over and over again. I don't know. To me, I think it doesn't make any sense, but
well, and without getting political, I just think that this whole pandemic, it's such a
it's such a hoax,
okay.
Paul. Just come out and say it. Put your tinfoil cap on and
uh, no, it's just one state completely unmasked. Another state just shut down indoor dining, and then you're hearing from multiple experts, well, there's nothing we can do, and then so it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
there's a new
As long
strain.
as
There's.
right as I exactly. I mean, as long as you wear the masks and it's only GMs and scouts that are spread out throughout the stadium, I I don't see how that's a problem. I mean, how big is Lucas Oil Field?
I
Or the
think it's like an eighty
capacity?
thousand seat
Eighty
stadium.
thousand seat stadium. Okay, just fucking spread everyone out.
And from each
You
team,
got
there's maybe a dozen or so people from each team.
okay, so each team gets its own section.
Yeah,
What's the problem with that? Like you said, hosting it virtually, and a lot of people, a lot of analysts have said this year and potentially next year, it's going to be some of the toughest years to actually hit on draft picks because a lot of teams in college have only played 6 games or they didn't even play any games, and these guys are top
yeah.
rated or mid range level prospects, and it's like okay, well I've seen what he's done at the combine. He can run a 4.3, but how is he in coverage or how
It's
is he
these drafts are gonna show who's good and who's not, basically. So
right,
you
right.
can tell like if they're able to hit from all the film that they've accumulated, what their scouts have told the GMs and everybody. Like the people who were good, like recently just passed away, Ted Thompson, the former Packers GM, one of the greats who hit on so many players over his course as a general manager for. That's why the Packers were so successful for so long because, and they wouldn't sign free agents or do anything like that because they built through the draft every time and they draft well. So you'll see the good GMs flourish in the situations and then others who will definitely be exposed. But thankfully, hopefully, Douglas can to get some hits this draft upcoming.
I mean, I have confidence in Joe Douglas. I think what he's
Yeah,
done so far, not only in the draft but personnel wise and how he's approached this team, you know, I think he'll, every team has its hits and misses, but I think Douglas is going to do what he knows, and he'll put the best product he can out there.
no, definitely. And with that, if you want, we could just roll into to free agents,
Yes, let's
potential
talk about free agents.
free agents for the New York Jets. Now, I think we could just skip right over quarterback because, and we already went over that. It's either going
Right,
to be Watson, Darnold, Fields, or Wilson, or
right.
Lawrence. or that's still a possibility.
We never know.
You never know. Um,
Maybe
but
Jacksonville makes a trade for Watson. We don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. Jets will definitely not have Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback. Well, he may be the backup, and God forbid he'll be the quarterback week 3. Um,
Yeah,
but we could just go in. So like wide receivers, I have here from Pro Football Network, just their top 10 that they rank. Um,
sure.
they have Fuller at 10. Now that'd be interesting. Yeah, say the Jets do trade for Watson and just bring Fuller right on over, but I believe Houston really wants to retain Fuller. They have Alan Lazard at 9 from Green Bay, Larry Fitzgerald at 8. He's a Cardinal. He may
Yeah,
retire,
he's
he may
never
not.
going
You know,
anywhere. No.
Sammy Watkins never lived up to the hype. I don't think he'll stay with the Chiefs, but I wouldn't want him for the Jets. T.Y. Hilton from the Colts, he's interesting. But I think he's more for like a contending team. Like I could actually see Ty going to Kansas City to replace Watkins.
Right.
Um,
Um. Yeah, and with his injury concerns over the past few years,
right,
we're not.
that too. Um, AJ Green at 5 from Cincinnati.
Uh,
He's definitely not going to be a Bengal next year, but
that's another T.Y. Hilton right there. He's gonna go to a Green Bay. Well, Green Bay doesn't sign free agents. He'll go to the
yeah,
Chiefs or he'll go to Seattle or he'll go somewhere.
right. 4 Kenny Golladay from Detroit didn't play much this past year due to injury. I think he's still shows a lot of promise, but I don't know if he'd be a great fit with the Jets.
Yeah, Jets are looking for young, speedy guys, and
Yeah, that's one thing
yeah,
Robert Saleh
he's
emphasized too. Forgot to mention in the press conference, he wants a lot of speed on his team, both sides of the ball.
right.
3, they have
Right.
here listed Juju Smith-Schuster. I just don't want any
Oh,
part of him.
I just don't know how he's ranked that high, to be honest with you. His play
Yeah,
this year has been mediocre, and the same with last year.
yeah. Without Antonio Brown, yeah, I defended Smith-Schuster after last season, saying that it's a year adjustment. He didn't have Big Ben, but this past year he was getting outshined by like guys like Deontay Johnson and a
Well,
rookie Chase Claypool.
and uh, I don't think he'd fit the Joe Douglas mold as like
No,
character
not a
because
leader.
he's got the dancing
The
on the
logo being a
logos and the
distraction.
TikTok and all that stuff.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly under the new regime. At 2, Chris Godwin, Tampa Bay Buccaneer. I don't believe Tampa Bay will retain him. I believe Tampa Bay is going to be fine with Mike Evans and bring back Antonio Brown cheap. And they have the young guy Tyler Johnson they like a lot. They have Scotty Miller. They have plenty of options down there. Um, but I think it's either him, who they have ranked 2, or 1, the guy who we mentioned, teased earlier, liking every tweet that's Jets related, has nothing to do with him, nothing to do with anything else, is Allen Robinson from the Bears, the former Jaguar, who's just got dealt a crap hand at quarterback in his career.
Right.
He has stood out. He's I don't know, borderline top 10. It definitely, I feel, top 15 wide receiver in the league. Um,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think pairing him up with Mims, I think that would be a great combination. I think Allen Robinson would be the top guy to get for the Jets this offseason.
How funny would it be if the Jets got Chris Godwin right after they went ahead and drafted a Darius Stewart over him? Was it a Darius Stewart or who was? Oh no,
um,
I think it was Devin Smith, right? Because Godwin was a second
mm,
round pick.
was he? No, I think it might have been someone else. When was Godwin? Godwin was what, 20?
Godwin's only 24 years old. I think he was 2018.
No, I feel like he was getting.
2017. No, it was 2017. He was a third round pick, and it was a Darius Stewart. The
Oh
Jets
wow.
drafted a Darius Stewart over Chris Godwin, and we see how that turned out. Um,
That's not
uh,
good.
no, not good at all. That's just a testament of how bad Mike McCagnon was. Him and Chad Hansen. Although I was surprised to learn that Chad Hansen was
He's
still
bounced back.
Yeah,
He's kind
he's
of been
he's a
successful with, I believe, Houston.
yeah. He's down in Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, bring him
Um,
back. Once the Jets trade for Watson, bring back Chad Hansen, the resurrection.
the future. Yeah, he's only 26. No, but seriously. Yeah, I think Allen Robinson wants to be a Jet. Like you said, he wouldn't just start liking Jet stuff out of nowhere. And
Yeah, that's not
especially if
like
the
that's not even
Jets,
like a leverage. It's not like Watson where he could be using the Jets to go somewhere else or get the
right?
Texans to do something in his favor. Like it's, I think Robinson likes the Jets setup now. Like likes Joe Douglas and what he's been able to do. Likes Robert Saleh as a coach, as many players do. It's an attractive destination. I think the only detriment to the Jets is, of course, they play in Jersey and it's the high taxes, whether a player
I,
lives in New Jersey or New York. But really, you have the opportunity because you're so close to the city of more deals, more like
it's all
off the field deals.
endorsements.
Yeah,
I
endorsements,
don't think
stuff like that.
I
So
don't
that
think athletes necessarily care about taxes. If that's the case, everybody's playing
eh,
in Florida, everybody's playing Connecticut. If Connecticut even had a
Connecticut.
team, the Hartford Whalers, if they were still around, everybody would be
Yeah,
playing for the Hartford
the Hartford
Whalers.
Wolfpack.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be great.
but yeah, no, I think Robinson would be over everybody. The Jets need a playmaker. They haven't had a
Yeah,
playmaker since they traded for Brandon Marshall for that one magical year. And before that, like, geez, Santana Moss when they had him. Um, or
him and
you could
Plaxico
argue,
Burress. Yeah, yeah. Those
you could make the argument for Brandon Edwards, but yeah,
are-
Robinson I feel would be the top guy. As for running backs, the Jets need maybe one or two of those. They currently have Ty Johnson, who is a change of pace type of guy. Well, Michael P. Ryan, who's still developing. They currently have Josh Adams on the roster, who looks all right. Um, but the top 10 listed here, again, ProFootballNetwork.com. The top running backs they rank at 10, Mike Davis from the Panthers, who really showcases his abilities as a starting running back with Christian McCaffrey being down for most of the season. But I don't know. I'd take a cheap flyer. He feels like a Chris Ivory situation,
Mm.
um, where the
What about
Jets,
Thomas Jones?
no, no, but you know what? Thomas Jones was more established and had
Okay.
very successful years in Chicago, whereas like Chris Ivory with the Saints, he showed flashes, but he was like buried behind Mark Ingram, everyone else. And I feel like that is the same with Davis. Like, he's behind Christian McCaffrey no matter what. So I wouldn't mind maybe taking a 2-year deal or something like that, very cheap contract for Davis. Number 9, Tevin Coleman. I like him at Niner. I like all Niners. Just Jets sign every 49er, and we'll be in the playoffs in no time. But the problem with Coleman is I don't know. How do you feel about him? I think he gets hurt too much, but
I'm sorry, you cut out. Can you say who's the running back?
Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, Tevin Coleman. He's I mean, I liked him. He had that one monster game last season where he had like what 170 yards, or no, he
Yeah,
had like 4 touchdowns. But he's always hurt. If it's not a knee, it's an ankle. If it's not an ankle, it's a calf. If they had an established number one, yeah, maybe on a as a third down guy or whatever. Okay,
or
bring him
as a
in. But
tandem type situation.
nah, it's just you got to find someone more reliable and not as prone to injury than him. So I'd pass on Tevin Coleman.
All right. They have number 8 here, one of the best, arguably the best pass catching running back in the league, James White from New England. But I don't know. If the Patriots let a player go, it's very rare that they do really well elsewhere, unless you're Richard Seymour or Chandler Jones. So for running backs, especially former pass running backs, they don't tend to last too long elsewhere. Um,
Well, and the way that they use their running backs in general, they had Rex Berkman, Sony Michelle,
okay,
Burkhead. Yeah, what did I say? Bergman.
Berkman,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ, I'm playing too much NFL head coach. Um, uh, you know, James White and Michelle. And they just whoever had the hot hand that game got the ball. So
Right.
I would stay clear from White as well. That's just me.
Yeah, I think so too. Seven here they have Leonard Fournette, Tampa Bay. I just
You
he
know,
again.
he's more of a power back. And you know what? If the price is right, I mean,
I
he's
don't think he
still.
fits the mold like you mentioned with Juju. I don't think
That's
you
true.
you want like high integrity type guys, and Fournette has butted heads in the past and has a off the field
Oh, I didn't
stuff.
even realize he was that old too. He's 26. Yeah, no, see ya.
Get him out of here. Number six. You know what? Why not? Le'Veon Bell. Let's bring him back.
Bring him back on a 1 year deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he. Maybe it was a combination of games. Maybe it was that year off, but he looks awful. He looks terrible.
I think that the problem with Bell is he does need to be behind it, like a line like what the Steelers had for many years, like a great O line where he can dance behind there, find a hole, and make something happen. Because that's what most of his stuff is done before, uh, you know, the
He
line
needs
of
to have.
scrimmage
Yeah, he has.
behind.
And if you watch when he was in Pittsburgh, he had a lot of patience. He would wait
Yeah,
until the holes would open up, and
you
you know,
can't have that with a bad O line.
right and give credit to Pittsburgh. They gave him that line that he needed. It didn't work out with the Jets because the Jets had the worst offensive line his first season here, and
Hmm.
then he's playing second fiddle in Kansas City. So I don't know. You'll see maybe a team use him as a backup, or I don't know. Maybe you see him go to L.A. I feel like L.A. would be a good spot for him behind Cam Akers.
Yeah, no, yeah. Number five, they have Philip Lindsay. I'll just go ahead and say no. Number four, Chris Carson from Seattle. I really like Chris Carson. The problem with him though is injuries. He never
Yeah.
stays healthy enough throughout the season, and it's just always a headache. Um, I don't know. How do you feel about Carson?
Well, again, and you hit the nail on the head. Carson behind that Seattle line, when healthy, looks fantastic. And with Russell Wilson being able to spread the ball out, it gives him more of I guess leeway to get the job done. If he became a Jet, okay, well maybe he'd be able to be as effective here as he was in Seattle. If you get a top receiving core, or your line is good, but I just like you said, between injuries and questions on the Jets offensive line and the talent at quarterback, I would steer clear from him.
Yeah, no, I agree. At number three, Todd Gurley. I think he's getting long in the tooth. Besides the injuries, it truly is amazing. I've said this multiple times, like how basically the huge contracts for Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, and Todd Gurley have ruined running backs for a generation that are coming out of college because like they're not going to get paid like that again because of their subpar performance from getting these huge deals, and
Well,
it's not worth
the
it.
the game in general now, back in the day when you had Emmett Smith and you had a Curtis Martin, and these guys are every down backs. They would play every down.
It just doesn't happen
Now,
anymore. Besides Derrick
right?
Henry,
Yeah, Derrick Henry's and Derrick Henry's going to slow down in a year or two because running backs get a lot of mileage on them quick, and look at what the Chiefs did. They drafted what's his face in the fourth round. That
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
yeah, he fourth round. They threw him right in, and where's he going to be in 4 years? Is this just a 1 year wonder, or running backs are the least, in my opinion, important piece on the offense. They are a position that if you're in a championship esque tier, such as the Chiefs, you can go ahead and get Le'Veon Bell as a backup to your starter. You can go
Yeah,
ahead and uh, yeah, I would honestly, I would rather the Jets just draft a running back. Fuck the
it's
free
looking.
agents. It's
Yeah,
just
because these free agents are not good. Two, Kenyon Drake, who did not look good in Arizona
mm,
this past year. And at number one, doubtful he'll go anywhere else. Would really like him, though. Aaron Jones, um, who is one of the best running backs in the league. But he's like it really is like that top tier of Aaron Jones, um, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry. I'm trying to think of who else. I guess Saquon when he's healthy, and that's it. And
Well,
it's a
and that
whole lot of mediocre running
and now
backs.
you have to ask yourself this question:
Oh, McCaffrey.
with if you're the Giants, okay, so if Saquon Barkley is coming back from an ACL tear as a running back, is he going to be as effective as he was before, where he has to make these cuts and he has to make these short stops? It's such a dangerous thing to do. To one, overpay for a running back, like the Jets have done, like the Rams have done, like the Cowboys have done. Which I'm still hearing inklings that they're trying to get rid of that contract, or Elliott,
Hmm.
and they're going to pawn him off on some poor sucker and have to attach a draft pick to it, or drafting a quarterback in the first round. I would even say maybe the first 2 rounds, to be honest with you, because you can find great talent in 3, 4, and 5, and you see a lot of teams are starting to take running backs in those rounds because,
Yeah, just
hey,
develop
if
them.
you miss on them, okay, it's a fourth, fifth round pick. If you hit on them, you look like a genius. You know,
Yeah, I mean it's also like it's very hard to hit on a running back in the first round because you look at guys like Rashad Penny from Seattle, first round pick, Sony Michel from New England, just hasn't worked out. But you do get like the ones that are the sure things like a McCaffrey. Barkley, it's just, he is a sure thing. It's just unfortunate with the injuries. But that's the thing
right,
with this position, gets often injured. Like, why spend that much draft capital?
right,
Why
right.
spend that much in terms of contract against the cap? It is better, like you said, draft mid round and then just like develop them. It's I think that's the way. I think the
And
Jets
I
will get a running back, but probably like round two or beyond.
I think it's just insane when you look in the NFL. Trends die quickly or trends pick up quickly. But even if we look back to even the early 2000s,
Hmm.
the Saints traded essentially their entire fucking draft to the
Oh, and
I think it was the
'99,
Redskins,
they no,
99.
yeah, yeah,
I think it
Mike
was the
Ditka,
Redskins. Yeah, for Ricky Williams. And Ricky Williams, hey, he was a good back,
he
but he
retired
wasn't.
after like
Yeah,
2 3 years to
right.
smoke weed in Jamaica, and then came
And
back two
then he
years
goes to
later.
Miami.
Yeah,
And it's just like it's insane how the game has changed, or how much emphasis they put on that position back in the day. You know,
yeah. Well, everything you run to set up the pass. Now you pass to set up the run, and the run is not it's not at I formation. Get set. You know, very minimal pre-snap movement. It's all right. Uh, hand it off in a pistol formation. Everything's changed as you said. Um, but yeah, if with running backs, with receiver, I think likely, hopefully, the Jets target one of those top guys, either Godwin or Robinson, like we said. Um, I think with running back, I think we're both in agreement that just skip that altogether. Just
yeah.
go after in the draft. Um,
I think Allen Robinson. I think the Jets are going to make a move for him, and he wants to be a Jet. I can see him being a Jet.
yeah, it just just comes down to years and you know money because that was a sticking point with Robbie Anderson last year. But with Joe Douglas, he had his line in the sand and he didn't cross it, which is good. You don't want your GM to cave. So we'll see.
Can I just say something really quick? So
Yeah.
bringing up that Ricky Williams deal. So listen to this. Listen to how disgusting this was. And listen to how bad the Redskins fucked this up. Okay, so Ricky Williams was the fifth pick in the first round of the 1999 NFL Draft. Okay,
Hmm.
Ditka traded every pick except the second round pick because it had already gone to the Rams to Washington, including the following year's first and third round pick
My goodness.
for Ricky Williams, who, let's look at his Saints career, played for the Saints from 1999 to 2001. the testament of how fucked up those Ditka Saint teams were.
It was not good. That's why Dick
Yeah.
is no longer head coach. That's absurd.
Yeah. Just imagine that. Imagine, yeah, we're only going to pick this guy in our draft, and then we're going to give up our first and third the following year. And he only plays 3 years for you.
It's
Incredible.
unbelievable. Yeah. Let's just go right into we'll go through the top free agent tight end targets for possibly the Jets or just in general and discuss where they may end up, and then we'll save O line and defense. We'll save that for next week's
Yeah,
episode.
sure, absolutely.
So they only have 7 listed for top available free agent tight ends in 2021. At 7, well, he's off the board because he just retired today. Vance McDonald, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, former 49er. He would have been actually interesting being that former Niner connection there and a veteran
But
presence. But uh, number 6, Mo Alley Cox from Indianapolis. No. He just, I don't know.
Indianapolis is just a city of mediocrity, in my
That's,
opinion. It's just like, all right, we got Phillip Rivers, great quarterback, but like that's it.
yeah,
T.Y. Hilton, great receiver, but that's it. You know,
yeah. Can't really put
Andrew
the
Luck, great quarterback that we ruined by putting mediocrity around him.
This is a Colts hating podcast.
Yes,
Number 5, Jared Cook from New Orleans. I think he's about burnt out.
he's
Um,
washed. Yeah,
yeah.
I've said that since first episode of this podcast,
I,
and you hated me for it.
well, I think for the Saints, for their situation at the time, it was all right. I don't think he'd be good elsewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Number 4, Gronk. He's sticking with Tampa Bay. He ain't going anywhere.
Fuck that.
Number 3, Gerald Everett. That's kind of interesting from
From the
LA Rams.
Rams. Yeah.
I don't know how
Um.
old he is. Let me look that
Well,
up.
and honestly, any tight end that they get would be an upgrade at tight end.
It possibly that's the thing. Like, do the Jets go free? Because that's one thing. Like, I think we kind of see how it is in terms of free agency now, in terms of where the Jets are at with their draft picks, and their current situation with the players they have on the roster. Receiver, I think they'll attack. Free agency, running back, they'll attack more so in the draft. Tight end is a big enigma. It is a question mark because you have Chris Herndon, who was first year, looked really solid, looked promising. Remember he
Yep,
had
yep.
and even last year, first year with Gase, he had that one-handed catch that was spectacular. I think in like week 2, but this year just fell off the face of the earth, just completely missing in some games. Um,
I,
just dropping passes left and right, just not
yeah.
good. I would like to think that is mainly has to do with Gase, but it can't say for certain. I
Right,
think the
right.
Jets are going to end up cutting Ryan Griffin with that contract and save some money there. And they also have Daniel Brown, but he's like a third string guy. You don't want him as like your starter potentially. So
Right,
Gerald
right.
Everett, he's 26 years old. Um, his career so far: 127 receptions or 1,300 yards, 8 touchdowns. I wouldn't mind
I
him.
mean, listen, if they could get him on a decent deal, which he's going into his prime now. Hey, pick him up. I mean, he can't be any worse than what we've got right now. And the Jets
Yeah,
haven't had a tight end since Jumbo Elliott.
I well, probably since more so Dustin Kell. Well,
Yeah,
actually, the one year
realistically,
with
Dustin Keller.
Kellen Winslow Jr. That
Ah,
one year he was not, he had like 10 touchdowns. I think he was spectacular, but it was
yeah,
just that one year. But yeah, like this past year he had 41 receptions for over 400 yards and a touchdown. The problem with Everett is that
who's
uh,
splitting time with
yeah, with Tyler Higbee over
Higby.
there, he's kind of behind, and the Rams have a bunch of weapons on offense, so he could
Yeah,
be a potential, um, dark horse type of tight end that they could the Jets could pick up and then slide right in there. But
right, right.
uh, at 2, another interesting name. I don't feel like with Aaron Jones with Green Bay they'll retain him. I think this team will retain him, and that's Jonnu Smith from the Tennessee Titans. I think he's a integral part of that offense. It wouldn't be a
He is
bad option,
hit and
but
miss. He, you know, I watched a few Titan games this year. Being that we don't, Jersey's a different story, but Pennsylvania they cut off our CBS affiliate to New York, so and I just didn't get the league pass this year.
oh well.
But I've watched Titan games on Yahoo and national TV, and he's a very up and down type of tight end in my opinion. He's got his games where he'll give you 7 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown, but then he'll have his other games where he'll have one catch for 5 yards, and he's missing blocks and he's missing assignments, and his route running's a little blah.
Yeah.
I would still stick if between those two. I would still have Everett as my number one.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. And also, just looking up now, actually, Daniel Brown is a free agent for the Jets. So the Jets only have um, soon to be cut, expected to be cut, I believe, Ryan Griffin and Chris Herndon. So they definitely have to address tight end for sure this offseason.
Right.
Um, and other guys out there, there's, Jason Witten, Greg Olson, Tyler Croft, Tyler Eifert, Mercedes Lewis, but the number one ranked guy who would be now imagine that the Jets do have money to spend, and that would be the top tight end target is Hunter Henry from the Los Angeles Chargers. I like Hunter Henry. I think his thing is also injuries, but I think that's behind him now. And to take away, it'd be like a twofold acquisition. You take away a top piece for a promising team in the same conference in the Chargers, take away their weapon, and then add them to your squad for whoever your quarterback is. That wouldn't be a bad move.
You know, Hunter Henry, great tight end. He had great potential coming out of school. It's been unfortunate with a few injuries that he's had, where he broke his leg, and he has trouble staying healthy. I would he be a great fit if he's healthy on the Jets? Yes. I just I'm just so very indifferent about him. I just I
Is it
just don't
because the
think
injuries? Because he's also 26. I kind of view
I
Henry as Kelsey. Not that they would end up the same career paths because Kelsey's now, I think, like 31, 32. But Kelsey early on in his career, like, didn't fully live up to the hype, was injured, stuff like that. Like, I think Henry kind of has that career trajectory, possibly.
yeah, no, and you yeah, you basically spelled it out or confirmed it. It just with injuries, I don't know. I just don't want to get invested into a player and then you see him get
Yeah.
injured and he's just okay. Well, you could have had this guy, but it's so hard to. It's so that's why we're doing a podcast and we're not in the NFL. We're
Yeah.
doing executive.
Yeah, that's
But no,
true.
I still think for
Gerald
my
Everett.
money, I would go with Gerald Everett. I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
I think that's the best option. Henry would be great, but like I said, just injuries and you know,
Yeah, no, Everett I think is the most solid, the safe option, and they can
yeah.
also possibly address tight end in the draft as well.
Right, right, right.
Um, but yeah, we'll get to O line, which the Jets will have to attack this offseason, definitely in free agency as well as the draft, and we'll also discuss the defensive position free agents on the next episode. But just to wrap things up, well, let's give our picks. What were our picks last week? I don't have to
So
think.
I went, I believe, 2-2. I struck out on the Rams and the Packers, and I struck out on the Saints and the Bucks.
Okay, so yeah, and I
So
was
you're
three and
three and
one.
one.
Yeah, because I
You chose
the
the
Saints.
Packers over the Rams, and then
Right,
everything else we were basically the same on.
right. So I have the edge, I guess, right now, and
You do.
in this whole ordeal, and
Actually,
it's
no, we're tied because I got you the week
in wild
before
card.
with the Rams over the Seahawks.
But I think we're both 2-2 because you had Washington over Tampa Bay.
Ah, yes.
Yep. Um,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you got the edge.
uh,
Fake news. Fake news. Don't listen to him.
um, So championship Sunday, big contest. I think the best possible matchups. The first one, of course, as always, or usually is the NFC title game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Green Bay Packers, possibly a snow game. Would be interesting to see two of the
Yes.
greatest quarterbacks of all time going toe to toe, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Um, People keep picking the Bucks. People like Tampa Bay. I think the big thing with Tampa Bay for this game, especially, is the return of defensive tackle Vita Vea. Is going to be crucial for them to help slow down the Packers' offense. Maybe get into that backfield a bit more, pressure Rodgers, try and stop Aaron Jones. But I think the Packers just they're cooking with gas right now. I don't think anything's stopping them.
Yeah,
My
I'm gonna
pick is
go with
Green
you.
Bay. I think I'll take the Packers 38-34.
Oh wow, high scoring affair.
Yeah.
I will go with the Packers as well. Just because it's finally an NFC Championship game at home to avenge their last NFC title game at home. That was against the Giants back in 2008.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow,
It's been long.
wow, yeah. Um, it's gonna be cold, and I don't know. I just think Aaron Rodgers is firing on all cylinders right now. Same with like you said, Aaron Jones and Lazard.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams is always he's guaranteed to score a touchdown. Yeah, I'm going Packers, and I'm gonna say it's a 10-point game,
Well,
28-18.
okay. All right. Uh, and then the second final game is the AFC Championship game with the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills at the Kansas City Chiefs. Josh Allen going toe to toe with Pat Mahomes. You got the old vets in the NFC side, and you got the young guns in the AFC side. Um, I picked the Bills. I believe, yeah, the past two games, but I think their magical run ends here. If Pat Mahomes wasn't playing, now Pat Mahomes got a concussion in the division title game, and Chad Henne came in. I think it would be a lot closer, and I might have ended up picking Buffalo, but I think Pat Mahomes is in there. Um, if Aaron Rodgers ain't the MVP, it's him, but Josh Allen's right there too. Um, and I think it's going to be a pretty good game, but give me the Chiefs. Oof.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
Give,
murder.
give me the yeah. That's I'm thinking. Give me the Chiefs. Mm, 42-26.
Wow, so you have it as a blowout.
Yeah,
There have been moments where the Chiefs have looked vulnerable and okay, well, I mean they lost to the Raiders, but there's other games where they
they
just
play
looked
down to their
very
opponent.
yeah. And I mean, you look last week the Chiefs and Browns game that the Browns could have won that game if it wasn't for that they were to pick up the mojo in the first half a little bit. But yeah, I'm going Chiefs. I think it's going to be a tougher game than you have it. Um, and again, like you said, if Pat Mahomes wasn't playing, I give it to the Buffalo Bills. Chad Henne is a great backup, but this is the AFC title game, and that Buffalo defense is great, but Pat Mahomes is better. I'm going Chiefs 31, Bills 20.
Well,
Um,
another 10
so
point difference.
yeah, we both go with the same picks. I guess this next week we can just judge it based off of whose score was closer, and then we'll just go
Yeah,
from there.
sure. But
So
yeah, we both have, I guess, Chiefs Packers rematch from Super Bowl one, and I've asked. I don't believe this has been a matchup yet, where we've seen Pat Mahomes versus Brady. We've seen obviously Brady with Allen for the years in the AFC East. Um, we've I believe seen also Rodgers versus Allen. I'm not sure, but we haven't seen in a matchup Pat Mahomes against Aaron Rodgers. I don't believe that's happened yet,
I think those two teams played um, when Pat Mahomes was a rookie.
and he wasn't playing.
Right, but he was
Yeah,
on the bench for while Alex Smith was playing, which is why obviously they didn't play.
yeah. I
So
think this is
I
that
think they
would be
play
a
next
crazy
year as
Super
well.
Bowl.
Yeah.
I think that would be the best outcome for a Super Bowl. I don't want to see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl again. I'm tired of him. I don't care. I don't want to see him ever again. Good for the Bucks. I like the Bucks as a team, as an organization. Bruce Arians, that's cool. I don't want him. I want Aaron Rodgers in there going against Pat Mahomes. The two number one seeds. I don't even recall when the last time that happened. Um, but yeah, Chiefs, Packers are our picks. And again, next week on Jets Flight Path, we'll be going more in depth onto free agency as well. We'll get some more news, Jets related news with coaching hires, and talk about that. Maybe another update on the whole Watson situation. And we'll go further from there.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend of football, and hope you guys out there enjoy it. Again, as for Brian, I am Paul, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at Jets Flight Path, and we will talk to you next Friday. That is it. Thank you for listening.